Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Alright, I'm just not going to spend too much time on the introduction. You can watch my other videos, introduction about everything we trade. It's live in our Tannet Trade Group community, one of the largest day trading community, or anything we swing trade, invest is part of our Tannet Research app. One of the fastest growing research investment service. So today, guys, there were some relative strength names which were running. SPY was a short all day. QQQ was choppy, nothing much there. So I will cover all that. We'll start with what we did with SPY, QQQ, how we mentioned the market, how we manage the market. We'll cover that. Then we look at our winning setups today. Definitely we did really good today on CBRS, SPCX, Micron, AAOI, MRVL. We'll look at all of our successful setups. Everything we trade is based upon a pre-market plan, the live plan that I make in the pre-market, and also, I'm live on voice and screen share first few hours of the market open, going through all the setups. So that's how we're going to cover. Let's start with SPY QQQs, and let me show you what was my guidance. I'm also on voice and live screen, so I'll try to show some of my voice transcript as well there. So let's look at the SPY. What did SPY do today? Oh, if you see that, today is you will learn about the importance of the MTF clouds, which is, very important to learn. So SPY QQQ, first of all, MTF clouds I've been testing with the 24-hour data. The 1 hour clouds kind of change a little bit when you adjust the data to 24-hour or to extended. You can see that how it changes a little bit. So I will show you the both of that. But let's look at first of all, we can look at the extended hours. Then we'll go to our MTF clouds. It's not really too much difference if we look at that in that way, but only the 1 hour MTF clouds which are changing. So let's take a look there, see how the 1 hour MTF clouds were changing. So let's look at the 24-hour MTF clouds, and based upon that. So this morning on the market, first of all, SPY QQQ. Remember, there was a gap in the market and it was pulling down, filling the gap. Anything we trade is dependent on market. Most of the names run with the market, but like today, Mag 7, softwares, they were dumping with the market. So we were not touching them long. We were preserving our capital. There was no money to be made there unless you were looking for some shorts. Definitely we'll talk about a few of the shorts that we did in the market, Meta, Google. We'll go through all of that. But let me show you how the traders were making the trades on the bearish day on SPY QQQs. So let's look at the plan on SPY QQQ. SPY flat, QQQ small gap, US-Iran tensions. They're still talking about those tensions. VIX 15 important today. SPY at 1 hour MTF cloud. QQQ watch the previous day close and the gap fill. Market way under pre-market highs. Only long if the previous day close holds. Watch any chop, right? So as soon as the market open, you see it under the MTF clouds. If you change to the extended time, you'll see the MTF cloud was a little lower. But the point is, SPY was under the MTF clouds. QQQ was sitting right on the MTF clouds. So as soon as the market opened, I told the traders on SPY, let's take a look on SPY. Right away I said SPY is an MTF short. You see that? There's MTF cloud. That's my system telling me that I should short it. Of course, QQQ was also not a long because it was chopping, failed, chopping, try to bounce it, failed middle of the day. But the main short today was SPY, right? So you can see that you could trade SPY puts, worked out nicely into 10 a.m. You could trade leverage ETFs, options, SPX, whatever you want to trade. So you can see that my continuous guidance SPY was short into 10 a.m. trend time, bear flag, still heavy. Even on my pre-market guidance, I talked about that SPY is heavy. So my traders are not taking long. So my traders were taking short. Then of course they could make the short trade. So super heavy there. And if you look at a lot of other names today, like Meta was also short. We go through all the names. Google was heavy. So let me show you. So SPY is heavy. You look for those short opportunities. Microsoft, which was also a short, and we share all this plan in the pre-market. So to traders who want to trade the short or the long, they can follow the Microsoft plan on short if it rejects under that level. Google short under that 1 hour MTF clouds. So you see that MTF was a short. I was already giving live guidance to traders to short it. None of us was trying to long it. Google was short in the morning. I gave this Google short to the traders as well. On Google, you can see that Meta. So we just look at what is making SPY weak, right? All these names are a big part of S&P, and they were heavy. Meta also had some news this morning in the game plan. You can see that Texas data center would face insurance risks, right? So that Meta was short on that because of that reason. So the traders were short on Meta, and of course SPY was heavy. So it gives you better confidence to take the short all the way from 591 all the way to 565. 600 psychological level yesterday. On a big picture, it shows you how important the psychological levels are. So no long all day long on Meta. Meta was just a short. All my traders were just a short on Meta all day. Long, and Mr. Basex, PR, Michael, was guiding on Meta sell-off all day long. Michael had a great guidance there on Meta sell-off. Yeah, so recap that. So SPY was a short with the MTF strategy, the VIX strategy. VIX ran from 4 to 15 to high, and SPY was a short all day. QQQ was more choppy, and because of that SPY short, we had all these shorts on Meta and Google. You could see that how they were failed all day, and Microsoft. So always focus on the market. If market is bearish and you see that names are selling off, they have news like we had on our pre-market planning on the Microsoft. You can pause the screen and take a look. Meta, Google, you could trade them based upon that plan, and make those trades and make some profits that way. Because if SPY pushed over the clouds, we would have stopped out of the shorts. Let's look at about some of our long winners. Even the market was heavy, or QQQ, since QQQ was kind of choppy, we definitely got some big winners today. So let's talk first. We're going to talk about CBRS. CBRS, let's look at our plan. I always tell my traders to pay attention to the pre-market planning. So on the pre-market planning, I made this red because it's my top focus. AMD discloses new position in Newton X, SPCX, and CBRS. So my main focus was CBRS, new IPO, nice looking daily chart, pulled back on daily chart. So I told the traders long over 1 hour MTF, sitting on 2 MTF clouds. So you see that CBRS had double MTF, 1 hour MTF and 50-50 MTF. That's my MTF confluence setup. Very, very, very strong, repeatable setup that you can trade for life. At the end of the day, it's statistics of your trades. So as soon as I see this, I tell my traders CBRS, super duper watch. I also mentioned in the pre-market live planning to watch it, and I told the traders right at the open, CBRS is a long. The CBRS should push. Good news on CBRS. We are very strong on CBRS. So right away, 931, you gotta get in there. So I gave the MTF long. I told the traders to risk 224. Right from the open, from 230, it ran all the way to 261. The first target I gave was 240. The next target I gave was 245. My third target was 250, and we sold 30% 245. We sold half the position at 250, and it kept on bouncing from 250, and that was where our stops were that I gave the traders, and then it bounced another $10 from that 250 all the way to 258. So you could make some money adding there at 250 as well for a midday setup. Initial, when we sold at 260, you can see that I told the traders at 260 sell most, keep a little bit. So you sell most here. As soon as I said that, it dumped $12 from there, and I told them put the stops. This was the stops, 247.80, and then it started to make a flag and pushed again to 260. So live guidance, you can see no hindsight, step by step. I even before the move, pre-market planning, live trades in the trading community for the traders. So it was a huge winner. Even if you're risking $6 there, you made $30. 1 risk to 5 reward. Home run trade for the option traders on CBRS. Let's take a look at those setups. Let's take a look at 250 calls. 250 calls went from $5 all the way to $20, 300%, risk $1,000. You make $2,500 or something based upon your $1,000 lot option, or if your shares, you're risking $1,000, you're making $4,000. So that was a beautiful trade on CBRS. Pre-market planning, live guidance. Let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to look at is SPCX. So SPCX was also our 1 hour MTF setup. Let's take a look what was our plan on SPCX. Let's see here. So SPCX, the pre-market planning I gave on SPCX, one of my top plays, Harvard Fund discloses a position. Of course, very bullish news. 141 was resistance that I gave in the pre-market planning. 139.50 was support. Told the traders to long if a 1 hour MTF holds, short under that. But right away it became a 1 hour MTF long over 142, 143 entry. You get a small size. You put your stops stops there at 140, $2 or $3 risk, and my target was 150. So I gave the target of 150. RGV was also on top of it, guiding the traders. He added there as well along at 941, 143, took all the way to $157 per share profit. So we met our 150 target, pulled back to the support. You could see the previous candle. You can scalp again here, take it back to 150 and get out when 512 breaks. So that was another beautiful winner. Again, it was our MTF Cloud, Ripster MTF Cloud wrong winner. Let's go to the next one. So one thing I wanted to cover on the SpaceX, that in the pre-market plan, I told the traders that watch the space sector. Watch the space sector. You could see that I said watch the space sector, and also said memory. So we always look at our Tanner research and see what sectors are strong in the pre-market, and based upon that we make a plan what we want to trade. So space, that's why SpaceX was our top watch. Of course, the Rocket Lab and also gave some nice trades at the open to the traders, but of course space sector, SpaceX was our leading trade at the open. You have to watch your 10 a.m. If at the open the stock makes too big of a move and it's not making new highs after 10 a.m., be very careful. That's your first rule. You want to see that it pushes higher after making that big move on the first candle, and after 10 a.m. trend time we have the higher lows, higher highs, which in case of Rocket Lab was not there. So that was a SpaceX and space sector. Let's go to our memory sector now. So memory sector, so talking about the memory sector, all of them really ran good. Micron, SKHY was decent in the morning. SNDK was a decent before the midday sell-off. So all of those were Ripster Cloud long setups. I'm going to pause the screen here. You can see the plan on Micron. 1000 psychological long setup. Repeatable strategy. I teach this strategy a lot, a simple strategy where your longs and shorts are based upon psychological numbers. 1000 psychological number on that. SNDK had a PT of $3,000. It was a 1700 psychological setup. 1000 psychological setup is a little bit more stronger than there. Of course, SKHY, we also had a bullish bias for the gap and go there as well. So, but we focused on Micron mostly. I focused on the Micron, so because I told the traders that Micron, has that 1000 psychological level. You can see my voice guidance here. I told that Micron is super strong. Over 1000 we can push. So Micron strong. It was one of the main names long. I also told the traders in the pre-market planning. I said any pullback to 990 is you long it, or any pullback that's your risk level. That was all pre-market planning. Then at the open was my live voice guidance to long Micron. So let's look at Micron here. Let's see how we did on the Micron. So Micron, as soon as I saw the market open, I told the traders 1K cycle long setup, and as I showed you the timestamp guidance there, and then I told the traders to buy this pullback. If you look carefully, the second candle pulled back to 1005. That's where the traders bought it. And then traders bought the Micron, and from that pullback, 1025, I saw a 10 a.m. flag. I told the traders 10 a.m. flag break. We moved the stops to 1007. Continues to push to 1025. We moved the stops to 1015, and we hit 1036, and we finally got out at 1027. So you see traders made over $30 per share profit, risking $5-6. That's 1 risk to 4 reward trade. You could also trade leverage ETFs if you want. Other trades were good as well, but I didn't have to guide my traders. They were already long on SNDK and Micron. You can see my traders were already long SNDK, DJ, Minesh, Vijay, Mark, Govind. Everybody was trading that 1700 psychological level on SNDK. So that was a beautiful trade for all the traders. We focused on the Micron because of the memory sector was strong. We focused on the space stocks. Space sector was strong. We focused on other relative strength names. That's how you find the place to long at the open based upon the news, the sector strength. That's how you will find continuous winning trade. That's why we stay top of it. So next one we're going to talk about is AAOI. AAOI was our day 2 setup. It was an MTF cloud bounce setup. It was a guidance by guidance by RGV in the community. Also, one of our senior traders in the community posted this our swing setup on AAOI in the morning over there. Let's take a look here. He posted this setup right here on AAOI yesterday night for traders to long that breakout. So my traders were already ready because we provide this information to our traders before the move. We also had AAOI pre-market plan, number one day to set up for us, call long, over that, bullish over the previous day highs. But the other thing AAOI did was, as soon as it bounced from there, you look for the longs. As soon as it call 150s, you get long in there, put your stops at 150 psychological level, you take it all the way to 160. You could see that initially it was bearish, and then it curled, and RGV guided the traders all the way on the AAOI curls, and you could see that how my community was on top of that AAOI, on the long total guidance by day tradesman, step by step there. Vijay added AAOI 148 for a beautiful trade there from the MTF bond. And you could see that my other traders in my community, like day tradesman, the senior traders, they're continuously guiding on that AAOI long there. Let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to talk about is MRVL. So let's take a look at MRVL. What was happening was MRVL. So MRVL, you see, also bounced from the MTF clouds. The reason I was personally watching MRVL, because it was this setup. This was a daily downtrend line breakout. So that's why MRVL was on one of my top watch. I told the traders to dip buy versus 230. That was one of the strongest names in the market on MRVL. And from that, let's look at the pre-market guidance here. This is the number 2 day to play. UBS maintains buy on MRVL. And then MRVL also, the traders traded it from this MTF bounce, 3450 calls, took all the way to 239. Other thing to note is MRVL was definitely lagging, because it was lagging, and it's this is a nice little flag setup that I really liked on MRVL. I gave the stops of 233 to the traders on the MRVL. 230 was initial risk on the stop, and it pulled back 233. This is where the traders traded the 512 calls. So that was MRVL. Let's go to some next trades here. CRDO was another long setup that I mentioned to the traders to watch, because CRDO is also one of our hot list stocks that we trade. We maintain our hot list trade. It's a previous huge swing winner for us as well. I wanted to have a position in CRDO at 200, completely missed an entry, but my traders know that this is one of our top plays. So CRDO as well at the open, I told the traders the CRDO is also long. Let me see if I can find that. So as you see in the pre-market, I told the traders keep up eyes on the CRDO. I really like that setup. In the pre-market, I also mentioned the floor in the pre-market. CRDO was one of the strongest names. I told the traders CRDO still strong, 271 stops or 270 stops, and that was a beautiful long winner. As you see, no hindsight from me, always a planned and live guidance. So next one, we're going to look at Lily. I always know which are the top setups for me to focus on. That's why I put a Lily as a top 2 day watch as well. That's how you find the setups from the previous day, from Friday. So Lily was our long or previous day close, 3450, short under the previous day lows. As soon as the Lily was curling here, I did tell the traders to watch it, and you could see this was 512 calls and went all the way to 1120. Lily is always on our watch list. That's why how we make the plans on Lily, and a lot of traders in the community were long on the Lily as well. All right, so that's today, guys. Hopefully you learned something, learn the MTF setups, learn how to find the highest, hottest stocks in the pre-market, and trade with confidence. Losers small, winners big. Take care. Bye-bye.